look at this, some reclaimed lumber here.
Yep, this is an old beam. It was a 10 by 10 that I saved. Came off of a job years ago.
You don't throw anything away, do you?
I like working with this old wood. It's really nice.
So what are you thinking of building out of it?
Well, I'm actually thinking about building a little milking stool.
What? By cow? With a milking stool?
By a cow. A little milking stool can be used around the house if you have a little kid that can't reach the sink to wash his hands, or a little accent table maybe in a room.
Or if the kid wants to milk the cow.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Got it. You put a plant on it. I get it. Makes sense. All right.
So what I did is I took the beam that I have, obviously, took the shot piece, and I cut it into 4 strips. All right, now those 4 strips, I glued 2 together last night, and I have this extra pieces here we can use for the legs.
All right. And what size are you thinking?
Well, the seat will probably be around 12 inches.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I turn this over so I can see the other side, how the joint is. I want to clean it up first. Let's make it level, and we'll bring it down to thickness, and then we'll cut the circle.
Got it. I'm in.
Okay, so I ripped the board down so that it will go through the planer, but a little bit wider than the circle that's needed. Now also, because we don't have a jointer wide enough to flatten one side of this board, we're going to use the planer as a joiner.
So this is not flat?
Right, so if I hold this corner down here and push down on this corner.
Oh, yeah.
And what we're going to do is we're going to take a board like this and glue it to the side. I'm going to hold this down tight. Perfect. All right, just hold it down onto the table and push it tight to the board.
We're good.
All right, so now that's not moving. Ready to run it through. Okay, so now that we have a flat surface, we can flip this over and flatten our board and bring it down to the thickness that we want. So I'm going to use this jig to cut the circle with the router. And it starts with this hole right here to fit. That fits a templating guide right there that's on the router, and the router bit will slide through that when you push the base up. Yeah, so you can see the router bit. So now what I do is I'll take this and I'll flip it over and slide that right down on, and that fits tight to that. Okay? So now we've got it set up so from the inside of the router bit to the screw is the diameter that I want.
Gotcha.
We'll gradually cut all the way down because we don't want to go too deep at once, give us an uneven cut. All right, so that's as deep as we can go with this size bit, and I also don't want to cut into the table with the router bit. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the router, use a different bit, but I need this wood outside the circle removed. So we'll remove the template. Why don't you cut all that away? I'll get the different router. All right, so what we did is we cut the top with the templating guide. Now you've cut all our rough out of the way. I've got another router with a different bit, and this is a templating bit that will cut flush with that cut there.
Gotcha.
All right. I also got a bearing on the bottom. Now you can see how the bearing is above the wasted material.
Yep.
That will ride on our finished cut up here, and we'll make this all flush.
Cleaned up nicely.
Yeah. Now we're going to use a 3/4 inch round over bit to round over that edge and clean it up. All right, so now with this piece of the beam right here, I'm going to start to mill this up into the legs. Now the first thing I want to do is take the rough beam and run it through the joiner for a straight edge. Next, I cut my pieces on the table saw to rough dimension. Back to the joiner to square them up. Back again to the table saw for the final dimension.
Okay, legs.
Yep. Okay, so what I have is a little mock-up. You can see that the two lines that we drew on the underside create 4 equal quadrants. It also helps us position the legs equally on the underside of the seat.
Gotcha. Legs and a little stretcher system there, frame.
Yeah, these are the rails that will attach to the legs, and then this whole system will attach to the underside of the seat using screws. Now, we could put a dowel in this and drill a hole in that and put a dowel through it, but I want to do it with mechanical fasteners and just make this 2 separate pieces.
So are your legs are going to be tapered, right? So that looks like they splay out?
Yeah, they're going to splay out in 2 directions. They're going to go out like this, and they're going to go out like this. And that's called a compound miter, which makes a wider footprint, which gives the seat more stability.
So are you going to start by cutting legs?
Yep.
All right, so how are you making these compound miters, Tommy?
Well, in this case, the compound miter is 8 degrees in both directions.
Okay.
So what I mean by that is I have to angle the saw at 8 degrees here, all right? Set it there and lock it in. Now I want to bevel the saw or tilt it to 8 degrees in that direction.
So you're going to cut a compound on the side that meets the underside of the seat?
Correct.
And then also on the bottom of the leg?
That's right. So it's going to be a parallel cut in 2 directions, top and bottom. That way it'll sit tight to the underside of the seat and flat on the floor.
Got it.
All right? Now I need to tilt the blade to the angle so I can cut the top of the rails where they meet the underside of the seat. And I'm just going to tip it down to 8 degrees. All right, so we're ready to put the legs together. I'm going to use a floating tenon with a mortise.
So you got a mortise, what, 2 on each leg?
2 in the leg and
2 on each
2
rail?
on the rail. Once we glue those in there, it's going to be nice and strong. Right? All right, so let's screw it to the underside of the top.
Okay.
All right, let's see how it looks. There you go.
Tommy, that is adorable.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah, that's great. Perfect little milking stool. So what are you thinking for finish?
Well, how about milk pink for the top? We'll stain the legs.
You got milk on your mind. All right, very nice, Tommy.
Thanks for watching. This Old House has got a video for just about every home improvement project, so be sure to check out the others. And if you like what you see, click on the subscribe button to make sure that you get our newest videos right in your feed.